There's no doubt that to me, as I've been fighting radicalization within the Muslim community, and back whether it was ground zero when we were fighting the Mots there, saying they might have a right to do it, but it was not the right thing to do. When I was working with Congressman Peter King in New York City, we were defending the police. We had a rally of Muslims to support the NYPD and said, listen, this is not just about Muslim identity. This is about saving New York City, saving America, and that they'll come for you. They're going to come for the Democratic Party and radicalize them. And today, we now know, as we wake up, where we have a guy who would probably be better suited to be the mayor of Gaza City is now the mayor of New York City. The radicalization of the Democratic Party has now fully been installed. That software is uploaded and now operational. And just look at London. Sadiq Khan has been running London now, will be 10 years in 2026. And they have dismantled the security operation in London. They have dismantled the identity of being British and what that means, not only for Muslims in Britain, but for every group. And it's harder to do in America because being American is an ideology. It's related to everybody. It's not a racial identity like it is in Europe. But at the end of the day, their democracy is on life support in Europe, and we are now starting to see it here. So as much as we can sort of dismiss what happened with Mamdani, and I don't disagree with Salam about what he's talking about the way they did it, the method. We saw the radicalization of the Democratic Party where they glorified violence in the Black Lives Matter movement. They glorified anti-corporate movements. The assassination culture with my friend Charlie Kirk and others has been sort of minimized as a corruption, when in fact it's a horrific corruption where they dismiss assassination and other targeting and demonization of our enemies. So at the end of the day, though, this is not a aberration. It is the intent, which is to take away our moral constructs of being American. It's not about the 80-20 issues. So as Americans look across the country in the flyover culture, the blue cities are not lost because they want it to be lost. The Democratic Socialists have now taken over the Democratic Party. We can't let them take those cities. It's not that we can win them with Republicans, but it is correct that our candidates aren't accessible. They aren't, and when I say our candidates, the centrist candidates, where the 99-1 issues, not the 80-20, the 99-1 issues, which is America first, which is our Constitution, our social contracts, what it is that makes New York City that stood on 9/12/01 and came together. It wasn't about being red or blue. We've lost that. They've taken that issue where he now is talking about the NYPD, made comments in his campaign that the NYPD has its shoelaces laced by the IDF. I mean, that is a corrupt demonization of our greatest ally that's fighting for freedom. He could even get himself, and I disagree with Salam. This guy is an Islamist. He wraps himself in Muslim identity, but he's a radical Islamist that's the head of the spear of the global red-green axis, where his dad was comparing Abraham Lincoln to Hitler. So this is somebody who's very radical.
His dad said, in fact, Abraham Lincoln's model was what inspired Hitler. So his dad said. Yes.
Insane. Go ahead.
Well, the Salam. That anti-colonial, quote unquote anti-colonialist disposition. I mean, it's not inconsistent with being an Islamist. I mean, they're certainly complementary. But I just think you have to get inside. You have to understand that this guy's background. You have to get inside his head, and his father certainly is somebody important in that conversation, who's an academic and an Islamist sympathizer at minimum. Because because it's being papered over by, it's just going to be a little bit more rent control, and it's going to be slightly higher taxes on corporations and individuals, and tightly and free bus rides and stuff like that. So it's just a little bit of more redistributionist than New York is normally used to, and it's all done with a smile. But there's something sinister behind that I think got drowned out because, of course, you didn't have candidates with the capacity to address those issues.
Exactly. And this is why, come full circle, President Obama called him a few days before the election, because this is Obama 4.0. 1.0 and 2.0 were his first two administrations where they put into operation the take over American healthcare system. They put into place a socialist system that has now socialized American healthcare, and the shutdown has shown us that has basically created a new government, which is the insurance companies. And now he calls his friend Mamdani because they're continuing the further takeover and socialization. And I know this script. My family escaped it in the Middle East. Egypt was taken over by whether it's Mubarak or the Muslim Brotherhood, those two forms of the dictatorship. One is Islamist socialism, the other is military socialism, but they both want to take over the economic system. And this is the far extreme left method of doing so. And Mamdani embraced the radical imams in New York. Siraj Wahaj, whose kids were arrested for terrorism, who has gone and basically said he wants to replace the Constitution with the Quran. We as conservatives and those in the center who are the 80-20 part of America can take back our country by flipping the script. This is why we need to say, you know what? And as I listened to Vivek Ramaswamy talk yesterday and others, there are many of us from immigrant communities that I think can say the same thing that so many Americans want to say, but they can't target me as being anti-Muslim. And when I give a narrative that my parents were able to get affordability because of small business America, because of having the ability to own their property and their businesses, this is how we take back America. Say we are the party of affordability. We are the party, the center party of American freedom, family freedom, education, and American social unity, if you will, rather than this fake social justice that just wants to destroy America and blame the West and foment anti-Semitism.
Well, I mean, meanwhile, back in Mogadishu, Minnesota, we've got a Mamdani in the Midwest who may end up being the mayor of what we used to know as Minneapolis. Both Omar Fateh and Jacob Fry, a non-Muslim, it seemed to me spent most of their time campaigning in Somali, like speaking Somali to Somalians, and this was a Somali first competition to be the next mayor of what used to be Minneapolis.
They certainly did, and it is amazing to me that more people aren't sort of, why is it so unusual to express that this is abhorrent that an American politician would have a Somali flag? And you listen to Ilhan Omar, and she says things in Somali where she's telling the people of Somalia that she's able to advance their interests in the House and the floors of Congress, and that is why they should support her. And she's talking to a foreign group in their language, not in our language, in English. So this type of disloyalty and America last rather than America first is what we need to target, because most Americans love this country. They serve in our military, our police, and our security services to keep our families safe, not to allow foreign interests to destroy our country and unravel it. And, listen, I think that's the minority narrative, is that we as minorities escaped other countries because we didn't have the freedom to be Arabic and Muslim and Mexican and other things that we want to be, and this country gives us that freedom to do it. And we haven't figured out how to get that message across in 30-second videos and otherwise to get the bandwidth to make the Omar Fatahs of the country really appear as truly radical as they are.
Yeah, I think there's just still this fear of being called a racist and things like that, and nothing could be further from the truth, of course. But I mean, the thinking about this, many people have made the point, 24 years removed from 9/11, and you have a mayor of New York City who, as you just mentioned, was consorting with taking photo op pictures with a character witness for the first World Trade Center bombing mastermind, with the mastermind of the first World Trade Center bombing, and otherwise meeting with other radical imams that you were describing. I mean, never again. I thought it was never again. And in Minnesota, I mean, we sent American soldiers to die to try to protect the Somali people from warlords. And apparently we then allowed warlords to come to this country and put on nice clothes and run for political office and prosecute warlordocracy by political means in Minnesota and in the United States Congress. I mean, it is jarring what we see happening.
It is. And listen, I served in the U.S. Navy for 11 years. I was on the USS El Paso. We went to Operation Restore Hope in '93, and our ship was outside Mogadishu trying to take food, and we were told that we were colonizing the Horn of Africa, which couldn't have been further from the truth. Ilhan Omar actually said the worst day in Somalia wasn't the tribal warlords and the dictatorships that were feeding and fueling her campaign, but rather it was the acts of terror committed by American troops. And I, as an American Muslim and an American serviceman, was just offended that this person would say such a thing just a few years ago while she was a member of Congress, saying that our troops, which I served as the doc on the USS El Paso out there, she said that that was the problem. You know, I put a proposal for us to have a commission on Americanism, which is we can seal the border physically, but the border in our consciousness as American, what it means to be American, what is the border of our loyalty, what are the things that we would want to serve and die for, which is America, not some foreign jihadist interests, not the comrade community of the communist movement of the Democratic Socialists of America. These movements, unless we begin to rebuild those borders in our consciousness of identity, real identity as Americans, we're going to lose this war. And I think that's the wake-up call from yesterday, is that the far left's radicalization should matter to us in the center and on the right, because the more radical they get, it only takes 10% of a population. Ask the Iranians. They lost their country in '79 because 10% of their country became radicalized, and within 2 months they had regret, and now they've been trying to fix that for 45 years. So this is what we can see coming if we don't. It's not just about minorities that might have radical limbs. They have radicalized one of the major parties in America, and the Schumers of the world are now taking orders from the AOC and Ilhan Omar's, which is the red-green axis, and Mamdani is now part of that.
Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, President of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy, co-founder of Muslim Reform Movement, former U.S. Navy Lieutenant Commander, and candidate for Congress in Arizona. Dr. Jasser, thank you as always for your time. I appreciate it.